Here's a reminder that you, which is to say, not the mind, but the real you, have the authority to permit good feeling regardless of circumstance. That circumstance includes all conditions experienced within the body and the mind. So regardless of the conditions within the body, which are circumstance, or the conditions within the mind, which are circumstance, or any emotional condition created within the body as a result of what is happening in the mind, a narration, all of that is circumstance. All of that is allowed to be there, and none of it stands in the way of your permitting good feeling. That good feeling does not obscure anything else. It encompasses, it wraps around, it is both beneath and above. So everything else is allowed to be, and that good feeling just pervades throughout. You alone have the authority to permit this. The mind does not, and it does not matter what the mind says. It does not matter if the mind says you don't have permission. You do. You are the authority. You alone permit this. I observed something today that was of interest to me. Something curious. Something not new, not original, certainly, but all the same, curious to observe. And that is, in observing the mind, recognizing that I am the awareness. I am awareness. I am aware of mind, and observing the mind and the pressure that it puts on itself and the way that it speaks to itself. I observed that the mind can only interact with itself. The mind cannot touch me. Every time the mind says you, it is talking about itself. Every time the mind says I, it is talking about itself. It's not talking about me. It has no access to me. It cannot perceive me. It can't comprehend me. It can't see or hear me. I am pure awareness. That is a dimension beyond which the mind can comprehend. It can't reach there. So it literally can't touch me. There is nothing for it to hold on to. The mind is only capable of illusion. That is the only power it has. Illusion. It is ultimately blind and deaf. It cannot truly create. Yes, creation can happen through. It can involve the brain, but only when it happens spontaneously, as in being the present awareness and allowing the life that present awareness is to utilize the fullness of this form. And then sometimes things will pop in. But it is spontaneous, and it is not the creation of the mind. It is simply happening through it. anything that the mind creates ultimately is illusion. It is not real. It is not true. It has no substance whatsoever. It has no awareness. This ego, this mind-created self, is equally blind and deaf. It has no awareness. It has no life because the mind has no life. It cannot be imbued with something that which created it does not have. It is essentially a puppet. It's a shell. That's why the mind talks about it so much, because it can't see directly. There's nothing in the middle. There is nothing actually there. There is just this paper-mache shell, the paper-mache of narrative story about the self. That is entirely hollow. There's nothing in there. And in observing the mind and seeing that it can only ever speak to itself about itself, and that I am never involved, I can't be. I'm not there, and it has no access to me. It has no way to grasp pure awareness. The mind cannot sense. And so it cannot touch me. It cannot apply pressure upon that which it cannot touch. And thus the mind simply is. And is not a threat to me. And it carries on speaking to itself, and it carries on creating illusion. It carries on creating sensation in the body. And I simply watch. I am simply noticing this. I am simply awareness. And it is this formlessness that is absolutely alive. And so impossible to describe, so impossible to put words upon. And it's that which has been called nothingness, because it is not form, but it's not nothing. It's just unlimited, it's just unrestrained, it's just not confined to any one thing. It is a nothing that is everything. And the mind cannot grasp it. The mind cannot comprehend it. And when it tries to, it panics because it can't. And another thing that I have noticed today is that the mind is compelled to understand, because that's how it sees. That's how the mind sees. It doesn't actually see. It sees by building, constructing an image. And it can only construct that image when it has parameters, when it can define things and create limitations. Definition is limitation. And so it is constantly seeking to understand so it can build a picture and therefore see. But it's not true seeing, it's not experiencing, it is actually incapable of this. It is incapable of experiencing directly. That is the realm of awareness. That is beyond its capabilities. And when the mind seeks to understand itself, it is seeking to escape itself. Just a second. Okay, so the mind is not capable of sensing, of actual direct experience. Understanding is the way that it attempts to paint a picture. It's unable to see. And anytime that the mind is trying to understand, anytime we think we are trying to understand, it's actually the mind. There's nothing wrong with seeking clarity, but there's a difference between clarity and understanding. I am defining a difference between these things. The mind seeks to understand. It's really a trap. It really just obscures the experience of clarity, which only comes from the direct experience and observation of what is, without the obstruction created by a mental story, without analysis. Clarity arises from pure awareness. Clarity arises from the experience of observation, but true observation can only occur when we inhabit the space of ourself, when we are the self, which is pure awareness, and we cease attempting to analyze or understand or explain, when we stop trying to reason. True clarity only arises when we stop trying to reason. Stop trying to put reason to it. That is the realm of the mind, and it's a story. It's a story. When we are seeking to explain or understand, we have realigned with the mind. It's actually just the mind seeking to do that. That which you are, the awareness, isn't seeking those things. It doesn't need them. Only the mind seeks that. And it is a trap. And it's okay. It's not a problem. It's just something to become aware of, so that when it happens, when the mind goes into this mode of, I want to understand, I want to explain, I need justification, I need reasoning, whatever it's for, if it's for an emotion, if it's for someone else's emotion, if it's for an event, if it's for the mind itself and the way that it's responding, if it's trying to understand and explain, just witness that. Just see that that's what's happening. Just see that the mind is doing that. And that's it. You don't need to follow it. There's nowhere to go. There is nowhere for it to go. That doesn't lead to anything. And the pressure created by the mind saying, I have to do this. No, come with me, we have to do this. That's just a part of the compulsion. And the mind can't actually put pressure upon you. It can only create the sensation of pressure and say that it's putting it upon you when really it's putting it upon itself, because it cannot touch you. Remain the awareness. Continue observing. Continue observing. Continue noticing. Just stay there. That's it. Again, as was said, none of this is new. None of this is new, but it is a continuous practice, and the mind, in my experience, It's hard to use words talking about this stuff. Recently, it's been loud. It's been very loud. It's been trying really hard to convince me that I'm in there and that it has some sort of hold or power over me. It's not malicious. There are just patterns of energy there that, in their own sort of artificial life, want to continue. But there's no actual life there. There is no actual power there. There is no truth there. There is no true understanding, which is clarity there. Again, clarity arises through the experience of observation, which is holding yourself as awareness, and seeing not with the mind, but as the I. That's it. That's all we got. But it feels good to rest in this place of awareness, which is home, which is resting in myself and trusting yourself more than your mind. Trust yourself more than your mind, above your mind. Trust what you are, which is being, which is awareness, which is life, ultimately. Reside in that space. That is what is called faith. And from this place, all trust arises, all peace arises, all love. These things simply emanate here. And they emanate in a way that does not obscure anything else. Again, it is not to eliminate any other experience. It is the peace that accepts non-peace and simply pervades and surrounds. It does not prevent non-peace. It persists regardless of it. That is the peace. That is the security, that is the joy of awareness, of resting in that space, the space of yourself, and recognizing this is you, and you have the authority, which is the granted power, to permit all, and to permit peace underlying all. Nothing can touch you. Certainly not the mind. That's it. Take it easy.